mattered in ways it didn't in most other towns. My plan had been to focus on the coach, a local legend named Thomas "Skippy" Karam, who had once played at Durfee, who had coached there for over 30 years, and whose fate it was to be ending his great career in an America so different from the one in which he had come of age. But it was quickly apparent that the story was more complicated. At the center of it was a psychic battle being played out every day between Karam and Durfee's junior star, Chris Herren, a battle that was both generational and cultural. With his teen idol looks and his swept-back hair, walking through the corridors of Durfee as if he were the leading man in his own movie, Chris Herren was the embodiment of the high school hero, and he was already being recruited by numerous colleges throughout the Northeast. He was young and strong, destined to play in the biggest arenas in the country. Though only 6'2", Herren had an explosive first step and seemed to be able to get to the rim almost at will. He had swagger, he had style, he signed autographs after games, and he seemed to have the word "star" all but stamped on his forehead. He also seemed to define hip-hop, then the new teen rage, with his nervous energy and naked emotion, and with his street cred, the way he would bump shoulders with one person while on the move to the next. He was always on the move. High school basketball was the lifeblood of the city, had been since 1947, when Durfee High School won the Eastern Massachusetts title and a caravan of cars made the drive to the Boston Garden, communicants to a sacred shrine. Local legend claims that it was the first time the Garden had ever sold out for basketball, and when the Durfee band played the school's anthem, the faithful stood up all over the Garden and sang along, many with tears in their eyes. Back home in Fall River, others huddled next to their radios, living and dying through the static. In many ways, high school basketball was almost all Fall River had back then. Once there had been money in Fall River, courtesy of the mill families that ruled the city like benevolent despots. At the end of the 19th century, the Fall River Line ran opulent steamships daily from Fall River to New York City, ships described in newspapers as floating palaces. In Fall River there was electricity and telephones and streetcars, all the amenities of a thriving city. A public library, a spacious boys' club, an armory, large public parks, and a showcase high school, modeled after the City Hall in Paris and considered at the time one of the finest high schools in the country, were all built with private gifts. At the turn of the century, Fall River was one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the United States, with the highest percentage of foreign-born citizens. It had evolved into a group of ethnic neighborhoods that operated almost like individual duchies, with their own churches and social clubs. The Flint, Corky Row, Below the Hill, the South End, the Highlands. But by World War II, the seeds of the city's decline were being sown. Much of the textile industry was starting to shift to the south, and the Depression brought grim realities to Fall River. Few American cities were hit harder. By the start of World War II, 80% of the mills that had operated in 1916 were out of business, leaving a plundered industrial ghost town, abandoned buildings, high unemployment, and the feeling that the good times were all gone. Except for high school basketball. There developed a mystique about Durfee basketball, a tradition that only grew as they won numerous state championships throughout the decades. It was there for everyone to see, on the walls of the field house. It was there in the dusty trophy case in the lobby, in the game program that started off with a history of Durfee basketball. It was there in the Greek chorus of older men, at the games year after year, forever arguing who the best players were in Durfee history, the best teams, as if 1947 were no different from 1993. It was there in the fact that the games had been broadcast on local radio for 50 years. Most of all, it was there in the city's memory, the palpable sense that the past and the present